Are you ready, kids?
Aye, aye, Captain!
I can hear you.
Aye, aye, Captain!
Oh, I'm not singing the song.
Welcome back, Alchemedians. We are ready to do the second season of Spongebob SquarePants.
By far, this was our highest viewed video.
And probably because it was our first video, but honestly,
Possibly.
actually, our part 2 was actually higher counted than part 1. Yeah. And we are so excited to bring you this because it has been a journey trying to rate these SpongeBob episodes because of how good they are.
And honestly, season 2 might have been a little better than season 1.
Yeah, there's no denying that. There's so many good episodes, so many things to really pick apart.
But the point is that no, these are really great episodes, and it took us literally over a week to just.
It took him 2 days just to do this, no joke. And it took me 1 day, but like I'm surprised by his effort.
Yeah, and then we had to combine the list. It was a week's process just to get this list down.
And honestly, even trying to combine it, like we had multiple like take-throughs of each episode just to make sure we get into the right nailing of where we rate them.
So,
also, I brought my SpongeBob shirt for this.
And I did not. But the point is that we worked really hard on this, and we would like, if you have time, to like and comment after the video.
And subscribe, don't forget about that.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get started on the list. Number 39 on the list, I'm with Stupid. And I'll be honest with you, this is the worst episode of the entire season for me. And it kind of goes to show because Patrick is just a big jerk at the end of the day. And then SpongeBob was trying to help him the entire time to set up his house for his parents. And then it doesn't even matter in the end because they weren't even his parents. Which honestly was set up to be a gag, but it kind of ended up like making the episode non-existent to the point where it doesn't even need to exist in like this season to make sense. And it just felt like halfway through, Patrick just randomly picked on SpongeBob for no reason, and you just kind of feel SpongeBob at that moment. And no main character should be bullied into that state. And yeah, that's what I have to say for that episode.
Number 38, Gary takes a bath. Any Gary episode for me is going to be further down the list than other characters because I like Gary the least. I don't know exactly why, but it just seemed like Gary is the most unnecessary character. But that being said, it's more than that. It's also the whole thing of it feels like a filler episode from beginning to end. It's worse, it's not even a funny filler episode, which again for season 2, which may be the best early season, this doesn't feel like the best season 2 episode. I'm going to say that this is this far down the list simply because I don't actually think that there's much worse than this episode.
Why was the clock getting so mad? It's getting ticked off.
Boo! You stink! Hey, funny man, what smells bad and makes people sick?
Nauseous gas?
Your act!
Well, now that I have nightmares for the rest of my life, thanks, Mom. Anyway, next one, squirrel jokes. And this feels very uncomfortable because I feel like this basically like goes over like the joke from a good source. Because squirrel jokes, it's just like, all right, everything turned into a joke. And that's what this episode's about. So it kind of feels like, because it's making fun of another species, which is speciesist in this universe, I guess. So it's like, what do you do with an episode that makes you feel uncomfortable? Well, get uncomfortable with it. I don't think that's not necessarily a joke. That's just how the episode is entirely. And then with the way Sandy treated SpongeBob because of that, well, he deserved it, but at the same time, she almost killed SpongeBob then and there right at her house. This episode kind of makes both characters feel very, very mean, like in general, and makes a cruel depiction of comedy.
Hey, all you people. Guess what comes in number 36? That's right, Jellyfish Hunter. This one is more on this low because I forgot it was in season 2. I actually thought it was a lot later, like season 6, because it didn't really have much in it that was a joke. Yeah, there was the whole. No, it wasn't funny. There was some memorable moments, but nothing else. And believe me, I wanted to like this episode. I usually like episodes where Krabs gets what he deserves from doing horrible things. But the point is that this is why it's number 36 on the list.
Next up on the list is number 35, The Smoking Peanut. This one I feel like, with the previous one I talked about, it was more like I felt bad for SpongeBob and for just everyone in general. I feel really bad for Patrick, even though he's not really doing anything. He's just getting all the blame. He even blames himself. How do you even, like, fight against the fact that you're the one you've been looking for all the time for the perfect crime? Literally. Over the fact that dumped on how much you're guilty for not doing what you do. And then all of a sudden Mr. Krabs shows up out of nowhere. It's like, hey, I actually stole it. And it's like, that feels like a cop out. And I still feel like Patrick should have done like one of the friendship things that he did in later seasons, where it's like, you don't trust me, in a way that, like, you feel sad for Patrick, because I already do, and he doesn't really get what he deserves out of, like, support for his friend, even though his friend was blaming him the entire time for stealing a pearl. That's what I have to say for that episode.
Oh, kissy, kissy. Ooh, kissy,
No,
kissy.
number 34 is Grandma's Kisses. This one's not on the list for the main characters. This one was for the townspeople. It just was weird that they cared. I mean, like, you have a strong relationship with your family, and other people seem to have a problem with it. I never really got this episode, and it's fine if you like it, and I'm be interested to hear why, because I can't see this episode being anything more than now, once SpongeBob tried to act like an adult and he had brought Patrick along, the episode did kind of pick up a little bit, but by that time it was already so far gone that I don't think I could recommend this episode to anyone as far as this season goes. Number 33 is Dumped. Now, again, I don't like a lot of the Gary episodes, especially, and this one has, I think, is the first episode that has another trope I just didn't like, is where Patrick was just tended to be mean for the sake of being mean. This one seemed like every bad trope from a later season was founded on this one episode. And I couldn't stand this episode entirely. I can't even remember a funny part in Dumped. While it did have the fact that nothing bad really happened, it also didn't have anything good happening either. So that's why it's 33 on the list.
Number 32, No Free Rides, because I remember this one. And I had to look this one up twice in order to remember it myself. How great is that? I even think I had to remember it 3 times by looking it up. It's not horrible as a episode. I just always end up forgetting this one because it feels like a short when you actually remember it. It's like Miss Puff gives SpongeBob his license, goes bad, she steals it back. The end. That's basically all that happens. It's like not much you really need to watch over because there's not much explanation of what needs to go on. Even though this was set for an 11-minute episode, and I feel like a lot of the 11-minute episodes, there can be episodes where they last forever. And I love those episodes because you feel every single moment in detail. With this, you feel nothing because you feel like you barely watched anything. You feel like a second has gone by and you're like, whoa, did I just watch something? And yeah, that is No Free Rides.
Number 31 is Pressure. This is where the season starts to pick up as far as like the episodes start becoming really good, but not quite. Pressure had some problems, like the whole over competitive Sandy, the whole mean SpongeBob. While I get why it was in there, it was still very middle of the road season type. I do think the season gets better after this episode, but this is like marks the episode that I still like. If it's on, I guess I won't turn it off, but I'm not going to like be happy about watching it. Number 30 is Shanghaied. Shanghaied I actually started to really like. And the fact that it was a special episode with Patchy and is probably the worst special episode for me made it so that it is number 30. I do remember some funny jokes, like the thing about the boat being destroyed, or when the Flying Dutchman introduces SpongeBob and Patrick being his ghostly pirates. But outside of that, the episode feels like every good thing is there, but then there's something to counter it. I don't dislike this episode in any way. And that's all I have to say.
Next up is number 29. Wait, hold on. It is? I'm not wearing any, huh? Your shoes untied. I'm not wearing any shoes, so joke's on them. Anyway, this is actually a pretty good episode. It actually teaches you a good lesson. I feel like the lesson kind of overpowers the episode a little bit, but that's fine. It teaches people how to really tie their shoes. And it really pushes the fact of like what happens when your shoes are untied and the troubles you will go through, all the sorrows and lament, all the pain. Just your shoes untied is a good lesson like episode, and I feel like it was really pulled together, really tied up there. And I feel like this episode was a really good episode. And the song was really catchy. I feel like it was like one of the lesser known songs, but still pretty good. This one's a good episode, and I'll stand by that, even with my shoes untied. Number 28, I have been dreading for this day to say this episode. Nah, I'm joking. Procrastination. I feel like for this one, I remember a lot of good memories. And I remember every time that I've watched it, it was good. I felt like I felt so much pride in watching it, but I just don't remember. Like, I feel like every time I watch it, all the good memories come back of it. I'm like, yes, this is a good episode. I love this. This is great. And then I'm like, oh, wait. After a few days, I'm like, what was I thinking about? Because I feel like that's where you end up with this episode. You kind of procrastinate about the fact that procrastination happened. Well, if it happened in the past, it's not really procrastination, but yeah, that's how I kind of feel about this episode.
Number 27 is Bossy Boots. I actually think Pearl episodes are usually pretty funny. This one is so down on the list simply because it tends to be an episode where it has a lot more filler than other episodes in the season, but it's still not a bad episode. It has a lot of funny moments, and I think Pearl is a good character. They use Squidward well, even though he's not in a lot. But I do like the ending where SpongeBob basically gives his paycheck away to take all the stuff home. But yeah, this episode is a very middle of the ground episode that I actually like and enjoy once in a while.
Number 26, Prehibernation Week. This episode has a lot of good jokes in it. It has a lot of good jokes in it. I always crack a smile with a lot of what happens in this. And it feels like an episode that lasts a while, which I like. But I feel like I've kind of mistaken this episode a lot for another episode that happens later. And I feel like the name setup is a good way to set up that episode, but at the same time, I just get so confused over which episode is which just through the fact that this episode is named Prehibernation Week. I feel like also Sandy was being a little bit too rough, but I do love the ending of the entire episode where Patrick's looking down at his rock after he gets some groceries and they're like, "Who are you people?" And yeah, it's a pretty good episode.
Number 25 is Wormy. I actually love this episode. How everyone's scared of a butterfly, because I actually think it's something that might happen, like the fear of the unknown, and I do like that, and I do like the whole monster vibe you get from this whole episode. That's not saying that there's not better episodes. I just always remember, and I do like the live action insect that's actually flying around, and even up to the very end where Sandy really doesn't even know what she's doing. She just thinks they're welcoming her home. So yeah, this is a great episode. And
A stove is a stove, no matter where you go.
A patty is a patty. That's what I say.
A grill is a grill. This is surely so.
And fries will be fries no matter when.
But this grill is not a home. This is not the stove I know.
I give it all away, so you come back to stay.
This kitchen's not the same without you.
It's just a grill.
It's just a greasy spoon without you. And now that has ended our conversation for number 24, Welcome to the Chum Bucket. Because that whole song is awesome. And the whole plot is awesome. Plankton and Mr. Krabs fight in a game, and Mr. Krabs bets SpongeBob, which would happen. And this episode really just makes you feel happy. And I just feel heartwarmed just thinking about this episode. I will say it is a little much of Mr. Krabs to sell SpongeBob, but you would expect it to happen anyway, so I feel really safe with this episode.
Number 23 is Crusty Love. Usually I'm not a big fan of Krabs episodes, but I did like this one because SpongeBob actually stood up for himself, and especially because I am a big fan of Mrs. Puff episodes. And this one is extra good because she doesn't get taken to jail in the end for no reason. I think this was a great episode that shows that this is midway on the list, and this great episode is here. Shows how much better the series actually got. This is why it is number 23, and that's all.
Next up on 22 is the episode I was talking about earlier, Survival of the Idiots. This feels like a sequel to Prehibernation Week. And this is the episode I confused with Prehibernation Week. Because of reasons being, they're both having to do with Sandy's hibernation. Even though this one actually shows a lot more funny outcomes and a bunch of memeable things that happen in this. What makes you think you're Dirty Dan? I'm dirty. Whatever. This episode was really funny. There's a lot of good moments, memorable moments, and I feel like through this point, this was like the part where things started getting harder to rate because of all the memorable moments and good moments that came with all the episodes and all the jokes and all the just pure moments that come from SpongeBob. It's just, season was hard to rate, but this is an episode to show an example of how good an episode can be of the season.
And number 21 is Bubble Buddy. Bubble Buddy, the reason why it's at the middle of the list, exact middle, is simply because it's that middle ground, that where the seasons is going to get a lot better from here. But there were episodes that had problems in the back. I do like the part where SpongeBob's making them all wait in line, but it was a great episode overall. And that's why I'm going to say that it stays at 21.
Thank you all for watching, you lovely people.
And if you're here to the end, I hope you'll at least consider subscribing.
And liking this video, because it's such a good video. You might as well like it as well. And share with your friends if you can.
Yeah. It's fun doing these lists, and we hope to get the second part out as fast as we can.
And make you all smile in the meanwhile.
Yep.
Have a lovely day, y'all comedians.